So I just recorded this entire video and my camera cut off after 12 minutes. Sick. The Lighthouse is the best film of the year. Directed by Robert Eggers, starring Robert Pattinson and Willem Dafoe. The film is about two lighthouse keepers who get stranded on an isolated island near Maine. I'm going to say this now, this film deserves to be seen completely blind, just going into it knowing you're in for a ride. If you haven't seen it, stop watching now. Come back when you've seen it, eventually, whenever that may be. If you can see it in the cinema, I really recommend seeing it in the cinema. This review is going to spoil a few things, so bear that in mind. Hold on a sec. Okay, let's get into it. I remember first seeing the trailer for this film, and I waited months for this to get a release in the UK. And when it finally came, it was worth the wait. I wasn't sure at first if a cinema viewing would enhance the experience or not, but if you can see this at the cinema, it improves it tenfold. Even though it's a black and white 4:3 film, the images deserve to be seen on the big screen, and the sound as well. You need to see it with that large sound system, surround sound all around you. It improves it so much. So I'm going to start by saying the cinematography in this film is just beautiful. The opening shots are so delicate and deliberate, precise. It just automatically drags you and pulls you into this world. The film throughout is just visually stunning. The composition is fantastic. The way the camera moves is almost characterized. It's either always on a tripod, on a dolly. There's very little movement, and everything is so slow and precise. It almost glides around and stops. It's hard to describe exactly what makes the camera movement so good. It sounds quite simple, but the way they pull it off, every shot in this film is just incredible. They really play to the strengths of black and white, so, you know, the way it enhances the shadows and the way the shadows are cast on an actor's face, and it really exaggerates the performance of the face. Everything plays into the atmosphere of this film, which just subdues and suffocates you. I love colour, I love the expression you can get out of colour, and masters of the palette really know how to bring the emotions of their film out through colour. So when I say, as a biased lover of colour, that this black and white film is one of the most beautiful films I've seen in a while, it's good. You really have to see it to believe how good it is. Every single shot, just the way it's composed, the way it's lit, everything just is perfect. And this film just wouldn't work in colour. I was watching some behind the scenes about it, and I saw some of the footage in colour, and I felt kind of dirty after watching it. Like, it has to be black and white. More importantly than composition and lighting and all that, though, is the imagery of your shots. And some of the shots in this film are just visually stunning. One scene I'm going to keep coming back to in this review is the spill your beans scene. Spill your beans. I think it's exemplary of everything that's great about this film. And the camera work in this scene is just fantastic. The way the camera sort of glides up towards the lighthouse is so unnerving. And then you get this image of Willem Dafoe looking down at Robert Pattinson. It's hard to put into words how this made me feel. It's undescribable. I just felt it was really a profound experience. And there's lots of things in this film that sort of defy explanation, but they just absolutely capture you. Again, you really have to see it to believe it. I saw someone say as well that it was inspired by this painting, so take that for what it's worth. So many shots that either they're symbolic or they just fuck with you. At the end of the day, this is one of the best looking films I've seen in a long time, and that's saying something when 1917 came out this year. The sound design as well is fucking excellent. The music is these sort of heavy synth, I want to say synth-like, they're not synths, maybe it's some brass or something, but whatever it is, it sort of throbs at you it just oppresses you. It really builds on this suspense that's in every single scene, and it puts the tension in every single scene on a knife edge. Not only is the music great, but the sound design as well is just brilliant. Not only the sound design, but their choice of when to use sound and when not to use sound. Throughout the film, there's a constant barrage of noise, whether it's the storm raging in the background, the house creaking, the throbbing of the air horn from the lighthouse. And then in the spill your beans scene, there's this moment where all the sound fades out and we're left with silence. And it just made everything 1,000 more times unnerving. Such a deliberate use of silence, I think, is really a sign that we're in the hands of a filmmaker who knows how to play with his audience. It reminded me of Scorsese's use of silence, particularly in the film of the same name. Sudden lack of sound is so unnatural. It's so unnatural that it just pulls you in further. It doesn't really make sense, but fucking hell, it works. I also want to mention the mermaid seagull scream, which made my skin crawl in a way that I've never felt before. It's one of those many moments in the film where something on the surface isn't that scary, but it's just really quite disturbing. And I've never been disturbed like that before at the cinema, never. So, bonus points for that. I don't even know what to say about the story. I could go on for days just with a bunch of questions about what was going on. There's so much left up to interpretation, and when I came out of the cinema, I didn't know what to think, I didn't know what to feel, I didn't really know what to say. And that feeling stuck with me for the rest of the night. I was talking over with my friend, and the more I talked about it, the more questions I had. I've never had a film make me feel so many different ways about two characters. At the start, Willem Dafoe's character is this creepy, weird old man. And as Robert Pattinson starts to go mad, you're just convinced that this guy's in on it somehow. The way he hides something up in the lighthouse and he doesn't let Robert Pattinson up there, you're just convinced that he's, in on it somehow. And Eggers knows that, so it uses that expectation of the audiences, and he just decides to fuck with us. He goes from this like weird, creepy old man to a, frightened, frail old man. And you're never quite sure what to make of either of the two characters. The way Pattinson goes from the straight man to him to a fucking lunatic by the end. The film's constantly asking you to reassess what you think of the two characters and what you assume to be true. And the film just throws these curveballs at you the whole film. The bit where Dafoe asks Pattinson how long they've been there, and the audience is positioned in the same boat as Pattinson. We don't know how long it's been. Has it been 5 days? Has it been 5 weeks? And it really throws you. There's something really quite scary about not knowing the passage of time. But what's so great about this is you don't know whether it's Pattinson or Dafoe that's insane. You don't know whether Dafoe's just fucking with us or whether Pattinson is losing it. Obviously Pattinson's losing it, but you don't know who to trust in this scene. And when you're positioned with a character and then the film asks you to question whether you trust them or not, it really throws you as the audience and makes you so uncomfortable. Similar point is when Pattinson chases Dafoe with the axe. And then we get in the house and Dafoe goes, "How can you chase me, poor little old man, and chase me with an axe?" Even though we've just seen Pattinson chasing Dafoe with the axe. It really, really fucks with your head. And you don't know what to believe and whether what you're seeing is real or not. And you just end up disorientated and paranoid. You're as paranoid as the guys on the island. You're just never comfortable in this film. The film grips hold of you and it doesn't allow you to be comfortable. Then you also have the thread about the previous lighthouse worker who suffered the same sort of fate as Pattinson does. And they share the same symptoms of the seeing mermaids and all that stuff. And it just adds another layer of like, what the fuck is going on here? I've seen lots of, theories about it. Is it purgatory? Are they the same person? Because it really seems like that at points. At the end of the day, I'm not sure the answers are that important really. I think the ambiguity is what makes it so great. Anyway, I'm gonna stop because I could just keep going on about how much I love the depth in the story. Because at the end of the day, it boils down to two blokes being stuck in a lighthouse and going mental. But it's so much more about what could be and what may be. And it's rare that a film grabs you in this way and makes you question everything over and over. I think the best films really make you think, and this film makes you think. It really grabs hold of you and doesn't let go, and you'll spend days thinking about this film and what it means. I think it's Dafoe's best ever performance, which is saying something, and it's the best I've seen with Robert Pattinson. The range he gives in his performance from start to finish. Think about the first few scenes where he's the straight man and he's very restricted and he keeps all his secrets to himself. And you think of the end with the sound design, the sort of distorted, pixelated scream/laugh. But the range of performance he gives is excellent. It's definitely the best I've personally seen of him. Cinematography is some of the best I've seen in recent times. Again, sound design, fantastic. This film just begs for multiple rewatches, although the first time you see it in cinema, it's a unique feeling, one I've never really had before. It reminds me a lot of The Shining, not just the story, but the way it's shot. The camera moves in a way that would fit in very well in a Kubrick film. It's not exactly the Kubrick stare, but the way they light the actors' faces and the extreme performances they give reminds me a lot of a Kubrick film. It also reminded me a lot of Hereditary and Midsommar. Particularly Midsommar, I think the way you feel after the film, that sort of shock, and the fact that neither of them are particularly scary, they're more just disturbing, and the feeling when you come out of cinema is very similar in them both. The music as well is it reminds me of the music in it. Maybe that's just me. This is definitely my favourite film of the year, and that's saying something considering the calibre of films that have come out this year. Obviously this is going to get 5 stars, and this film defies explanation. You have to see it to quite understand how good it is. I want to talk about this film, so let me know what you thought in the comments, your theories, all that good stuff. I hope you guys enjoyed watching, and I'll see you next time.